Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dark Roast. I am Dawna Stroll, and I'm here with the always lovely and talented Rose Short.
What up?
Pardon me. Today, we are going to be talking about the power of curated content, and how building authority helps you earn commissions. Curated content is a very interesting thing that you can do. I thought it was a very curious way to do things, because it helps you build authority, helps you establish an audience, and you can earn commissions while you do it, which is super cool.
Yeah. Yep. Share valuable resources. You can save time, you provide value, and of course, position yourself as a trusted leader, which is super important, especially nowadays with everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people being active in the make money online space or digital marketing space.
Yeah.
So there are some statistics we have for you because we love our stats.
Yes.
So, sharing high quality content positions you as a thought leader in your industry, even if the content isn't originally yours. So, this is where fan pages, theme pages, things like that come in handy. I will say, I believe they are updating their terms of service when it comes to sharing content that is not yours. So, make sure
Mhm.
if you're going to do it this way, you're paying attention to that fine print.
Yeah. And I mean, curated content is also um, like pulling together a bunch of things and then adding your own thoughts as well, especially like when you look at blog posts and stuff like that. They do a lot of curated content, and it saves time because, you're instead of you creating everything from scratch, you can pull together a bunch of information, and original material, and then it helps you to create more consistent um, things that you're doing, whether you're consistent posting or consistent branding and all that sort of stuff. And it boosts engagement, right? Because you're providing something that's already proven to be valuable. So you're not having to reinvent the wheel, and that's super helpful.
Yep, and when it comes to boosting engagement, that can of course drive traffic. So linking curated content back to websites, blogs, things like that increase SEO, and obviously, if the SEO is increased, then traffic to your piece is going to increase. And that could also mean increased traffic to your links if you've got affiliate links in there.
Yeah. And it also helps to build your brand awareness. You're sharing diverse perspectives. You're introducing your brand to maybe audiences that you didn't have, right? So, and that's kind of another way that it's very symbiotic. They liked that part a
They
lot.
loved that one. Yeah, she was excited. So when you're thinking curated content, think like hooks, right? So top 10, whatever. 5 must-have AI tools. You know, best website builders, greatest CRM, like things like that. And usually a number in front, right? So like my 6 greatest CRMs to use, or my top tools, things like that. So we're looking at that curated content, that's a lot of where the hooks come into play. That's your starter. It should be relevant. It should tell them exactly what the content's going to be. But it needs to be presented in a way that actually makes them go, huh, not, oh, I've seen this a million times.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you can create a resource hub, where you have a dedicated page that's got your tools like we talked about yet last week, with your courses or software or things that you recommend. Like books are a big one. If you are finding that you are um, reading certain books and they've been really helpful for you, especially when you've got that brand awareness, it's a good way to put forth something that people are going to use, and you didn't really have to do a lot in order to do that. And then your expert quotes, insights. So if there's people that you follow or experts in the business that you're in, you can share their information, just making sure that you attribute it, obviously, And it also enhances your authority and credibility because you're almost using their credibility to help lift yours up. And that's not a bad thing. Really, it's
Yeah.
not. As long as you make sure that you are attributing it the way that you need to.
Yeah. And then, of course, like news and trending topics. So, especially when it comes to new releases or, new tool availability or something like that within your niche, that's going to be huge because a lot of times higher positioned affiliate marketers and digital marketers are going to get access to a lot of these themes before, the everyday marketer. And so being able to share, what the tool is, how to use it, how it's going to be beneficial, if it's going to be beneficial or if it's going to be out of, the scope of what someone should be looking at, all those things are going to be really, really helpful to your audience.
Yeah. And then, something that you're doing as well right now is the UGC, right? The user generated content. So, you can highlight while you're doing that, you can highlight customers' reviews, and they don't have to be your reviews, right? They don't have to, because if you're doing user generated content for a particular brand or a product or a service, um, all those reviews matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can pull those in, right? Or any kind of audience contributions. So you can pull in other people who have used this product and put those, put that together in maybe a video or something like that to share and expand. And then also, whenever you're doing something like that, especially if you make sure that you tag them in it, you're expanding your audience,
Mm-hmm.
right? So again, another way to utilize that curated content to expand your audience, which we like big ponds.
Yes. And even if they're negative reviews, right? You can talk about the negative review and maybe deep dive into, why that person said that and, if it was really the product or if it's say something with them. Like there's all kinds of different reasons that people give negative reviews. So don't shy away from the negatives either. And like, if there's a particular demographic that it's going to be a negative for, absolutely address that because again, you're stopping them from wasting time, money, and resources if it's not going to be the best fit for them.
And it really helps your honesty quotient, right? If you're willing to talk about the downsides, that really helps people gain a bit more trust for you, because whenever we get something that's 100% sunshine, we know that we just have that feeling in ourselves. And it's just like, yeah, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It sounds too good to be true. It probably is.
yeah. So next section would be your facts and your stats. Yes, we like those. So your content mix. The best marketers who use curated content um, usually is about 25% curated and less than 10% syndicated content, because syndicated means it's freaking everywhere, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the good, 65% you've created it, 25% curated, and then less than 10% is the syndicated. And that gives them the best results for what they're trying to do, the best engagement.
Yeah, love it. And then, of course, check your engagement metrics, right? Curated content often drives higher likes, shares, and comments compared to original posts. And saves, obviously, saves is a big one in Instagram. But your original content might be what keeps them coming back, and maybe they're not saving your original content, but that's your chance to put your personality and your actual thoughts and whatnot into it. So don't get discouraged and think that you need to do more curated content because it's getting more of the engagement metrics, but be aware that they will probably get more.
Yeah, and that's where the balance comes in, right? The mix comes in. So, you're pulling them in and then keeping them there.
Yeah.
And, it's an overflow. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, right? And for your SEO impact, curated resource pages, or if you're in Instagram, your highlights, your Facebook, maybe you have your featured, whatever, obviously for blogs. Your resource pages can attract backlinks, from reputable sites. It's really great for blogging. I'm not going to lie. Like curated content is awesome for blogging. And then it helps improve your domain authority. So if you have a website, having curated content and your backlinks and everything like that will boost the your website and make it have more authority, which means it will show up higher in your search engines, which, as we all know, is a good thing, right? Especially if you're trying to promote your products or get people to sign up to newsletters, which will then promote your products. The more authority you have, no matter where you are, the better your odds are of getting actual sales out of it. So,
Yeah. Love it. So actionable steps. So we talked about it last week with resource guides and things like that. But create your top 10. It could be your top 10 tools, your top 10 websites, your top 10 social video editing tools or stuff like that, right? All these things are stuff that you have not created, but that you are using consistently or should be using consistently. And they don't all have to have affiliate programs attached, or you don't have to be part of the affiliate program, right? And that actually works out pretty well in your favor, because the more you have that you're not affiliated with, shows that you're not necessarily after the dollar, you're after the info share. And you can use tools to gather, articles, videos, case studies, things like that to put in there as well.
Yeah, there's quite a few tools. I mean, there's Google Alerts, there's Feedly, Twitter, obviously, and LinkedIn, depending on where you're at and what you're trying to do. Reddit and Quora for see what people are discussing and share some insights on that. Industry blog and news, depending on what kind of industry or what your niche is. I mean, if your niche is babies or your niche is cooking, maybe you're going to follow some industry news and blogs that are very specific to that you can then curate content from. And then YouTube and podcasts, right? I mean, YouTube is a search engine.
Yep.
So, and then you can literally pull information from there, summarize what's valuable and the takeaways. You don't have to pull it word for word. You can summarize it and then have links towards that information. As always, you want to make sure that you're adding your own commentary and your own insights to make sure that you're personalizing whatever you're putting together. And you can actually sell those if you create a well thought out resource guide or something like that. You can put it together as a book or a course, and you can sell that as its own thing. Like, the top 100s, you see them all the time. And as long as you're willing to put in a little bit of effort and actually add your own commentary and thoughts and whatnot, you can create a very valuable resource that you can sell, and you didn't have to do most of the work because it was already there.
Yeah. Love it. And then, of course, be strategic with how you share, right? 40-60 ratio of original to curated for your daily share, and then the 65 and 25 for your overall. Scheduling posts is always helpful for this. Buffer, Hootsuite, to go high level, all of those have, scheduling availability. Most platforms have their own scheduler within them as well. So that's a good way to schedule out your week and take a look and say, okay, am I scheduling properly, or do I have way too much of one type or the other? And then just like Dawna was saying, tag other influencers or brands when you're sharing their content. It builds relationships, it increases the visibility, and it can lead to potentially with brands paid collaborations down the road. So super important.
Yeah, especially if you're doing products and there's something that you really like. This is a great way to really maybe get onto their program and get something more from it too. Especially if you're liking it, why not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that's where we're talking about building your affiliate partnerships, right? You're going to partner with creators whose work aligns with yours, right? You're not going to just partner with everybody. We don't do that. That's how you get bad things. And then you can share your affiliate links within your curated posts. So if you're doing product reviews or tutorials or something like that, then you can share your link. Like if you're doing, say, YouTube, and you're doing some kind of comparisons and stuff like that, that's a great place for you to share your own personal links, especially if you've got like maybe free trials or, introductory rates, or, they've got a sale going on if they use your information, that kind of thing. So that allows you to earn a commission while you're providing some value to people. Um, and I think that's, as always, that's always great. Any way that you can actually leverage your links and get those commissions and, spread it around. It doesn't have to be just one format. So,
Yep. Which, yeah, that's where leveraging visual content as well comes into play, right? So infographics, carousels, videos, user-generated visuals, stuff like that. Canva is a great place to put those together. You know, Lego will retweet customer photos featuring their products, which just adds authenticity and engagement, and also shows that, like, they love seeing what people can do with their product as well. So that's kind of cool. And there's a few brands that do kind of stuff like that, of course, right now I'm not thinking of at all. But,
but I mean, yeah, if you've got something and yeah, people are using it, ask them for the videos. When they post it up, say, hey, please tag me, add me as a collaborator, whatever. I'm happy to have that and share that on my space as well. Again, because that adds authenticity to you, and it also helps them out, right? So, it's a little extra boost for them as well.
Yeah, if you're ordering UGC content too, you can, ask them for the raw footage from their video shoots that they're doing, so you can splice that in with your own stuff as well, as long as you've offered to pay them for it. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Cool. And then, as always, you got to optimize that SEO, right? You got to make sure that you're using your keywords strategically in curated posts, because just dropping it in there isn't necessarily going to give you what you want, and make sure that you're linking back to any relevant pages on your site to drive traffic and improve rankings. So you're going to make sure that you're linking every which way that you can, linking to them, and maybe they'll link back to you. You can even reach out to them and say, would you mind? Hey, I've put together this list. I utilized, some information from you. Would love some reciprocal linking going on if that's something that you're willing to do. Don't be afraid to ask. I know that it can be very daunting, especially when you're new at it, but it's okay. What's the very worst thing that they can do? They can just not respond at all, right? The second
Yeah.
worst thing they can say is, nah, I don't think so, right? Big deal. So you move on. Your world will still be intact.
And then, of course, track, right? Monitor your engagement metrics, like we said earlier. Adjust based on audience response, but don't adjust so aggressively that becomes your only content, because, again, sometimes the content you don't think is going to do good is what does really good. Or sometimes it's just, you used the right sound and the right hashtag and it took off for some reason. So tracking will kind of help give insights in that. And when it's one of those that, like, I have no idea why this went viral, but it went viral. Or maybe it got in front of a different audience who's the wrong audience, who are engaging with it in maybe not the best way that you would want people engaging with it. Because I've been there.
Yeah.
So,
Then I
keep
was
all these
control.
things in mind. Yeah. Keep all
Yeah.
these things in mind, and don't, like I said, aggressively adjust because, like, oh, this one video where my cat was in the background, everybody loved, so my cat's going to be in all my videos, right? Like, unless
You can
cats is your
test it,
theme. You
right?
could. Yeah.
You can test it and see if it does actually make a difference. But yeah, don't go bonkers right off the bat. Now, there are some best practices, of course, like with anything. You want to know your audience. Okay. So understand what their interests are and their pain points before you start curating content, because while it saves you time in the long run, initially, like anything else, you're going to spend all that time gathering content, finding the best things, and then it's just not landing with your audience because it's the wrong person, it's the wrong type of content. And that's where you can use your buyer personas or audience insight tools. Um, there's a few of them where you can take a look at. So it's just important to you to make sure that you're speaking to the right people. Yeah. Oh,
And of course,
pardon.
be transparent. Ugh, English is hard this morning. And credit your sources appropriately, right? So don't be claiming content that isn't yours because, some people don't care and some people really care. I have a Facebook friend who his picture got used on like a Wales travel board and he hadn't given permission, and it was a whole like 2 week fight for them to take it down because they didn't ask.
Yeah, no, I have that. Like I posted a um, one of my designs, elbows up, one of my True North elbows up designs, and I see it all the time on threads with different people, and every time I see it, I just comment and say, "Hey, so glad you liked my image. Um, you know, glad that you're using it. Would really appreciate it if you tag me." Like I'm not going to lose my temper over it, but at the same time, just be respectful. It's the same as if I see a quote. Like I've seen quotes from books that I've read and they're not attributed and it drives me bonkers. It's like, no, if you're going to use someone else's words, make sure that you are attributing the person that you're pulling it from because they put in the work, the time, and the effort to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and it's always safer because you never know. You pull it from the wrong person, you could end up with a lawsuit. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Especially in
And
the
so,
U.S.
yeah. And you always want to make sure that whatever you're curating is adding value. Okay. And then also, you want to make sure that you're adding value to it as well. So include your personal insights or your stories or summaries or anything else like that. So if you're using curated content, don't just drop it and run. Make sure that you're adding your 2 cents to it, um, and not just, hey, this was cool. What do you think? Actually add some real value to whatever it is that you're using to make sure that it's relevant.
Yep. And then diversify appropriately, right? So if it's a blog post, probably not going to be dropping it on your Instagram, but you could drop it on LinkedIn or you could drop it in a YouTube video description. If it's going to be a video or a carousel, you could do a carousel on LinkedIn, but it's probably going to do better on Instagram, Facebook. I think TikTok has like a photo
Hmm.
scroll version now
Yep, they
too.
do.
So make sure that, you're not just dropping it. You can drop it everywhere, of course, but what is something that's going to do better on maybe a more professional site or like a forum versus a video? Make sure that you are diversifying that way. So don't just write your blog and point back to your blog. Post that blog where it's going to be seen and beneficial for it to be seen, but maybe don't worry too much about posting it on your visual graphic
Yeah,
platforms.
and you can always take that blog and turn it into a visual. So,
Yeah.
like, go back to the books thing, right? You can actually write a very well thought out blog, but you can also take that and create a short video on what some of your top books are. And then you can link back to your blog or you can point back to your blog in that case. But you're still going to want to make sure that your visual is shorter, punchier, and more to the point.
Yeah.
And then you want to stay consistent. As always, regularly update your curated lists or guides, especially if you are putting them in written format or even in your YouTube format. Anything that's going to be evergreen, you've got to go back and update because life changes, things change, businesses go out of business. Maybe that product got a lot of recalls, like you thought it was great, but then something happened to it. Um, or maybe they fell into a scandal and you just don't want that on there anymore. These are all things that you want to make sure that you're keeping up to date. Like if you've got some lists, so probably a good idea to track a bit of it. Maybe have a spreadsheet or something where, you go back and you check.
Mhm.
You did all these posts this month, so in like a year you go back and you check and see what needs to be updated.
Yep. It's good advice. So, things to focus on: curated news. Again, staying ahead of updates and updating from reliable sources is going to position you as a leader in the field. Again, using new tools that come out maybe before other people have gotten access to them. This happens a lot with Instagram and even Meta or Facebook, sorry. So, all of Meta. I'm sure it probably happens with TikTok as well. I'm just not nearly as versed in TikTok.
Yeah.
But so using those early, figuring them out, and then sharing them is a great way to stay on top of a leader position in your field.
Yeah. And then, create your comprehensive guides that serve as a one stop for specific topics. So basically, you know, make sure that you're curating for your niche, right? And so if you have multiple niches, then maybe you need different blogs, or, you need to try and block it out more evenly so that people aren't confused when they come and it's like, well, you gave me a list on SEO, and then the next one you did for curated content was all about sportswear. Like, I'm confused, right? So it's good to have it's if you want to build authority in whatever your niche is and you're using curated content, it's a very good idea. This is where you really want to try and stay within your niche. And that doesn't mean you can't have more than one. It just, they probably shouldn't overlap or bump into each other in this particular kind of space.
Yeah. And then, engage with your followers, answer questions, because if it's a new feature, there's going to be questions, I guarantee it. And encourage discussions, right? You don't want to post something and walk away and be that person who never responds or anything like that. Now, if you're getting 50 to 100 DMs a day, that can be difficult. I totally get it. But, it's still good practice to go through. You don't have to answer every question the second it comes in. I think that's something that people get wrong a lot too. But you should be taking the first 15 minutes of, before you post whatever you're going to post to respond to old comments anyway on your older posts. And then go ahead and post your new post and then go back to your older stuff and continue engaging, because that shows the algorithm that you are in fact active. You're not just dropping your content and walking away.
And also, it's a good way to, especially if maybe you didn't get to everything right away, going back in every like day or so and just checking to see if there's any older comments that you might have missed is a good way to sort of pop that back up in the rotation and get that, you know, to say, oh yeah, still active, still interesting, people still want to know, and to help boost that engagement for older posts that maybe that got missed or whatever. So
Yeah.
I mean, we did talk about it very briefly, but there are some tools for efficient content curating. So Feedly is one. It's an aggregate news articles and blogs into one place. So it's a good place to go and look and find some stuff. Pocket allows you to save those articles for later. Scoop It helps build topic specific hubs with detailed analytics, which is kind of nice because then you can pay more attention and see why and how, that deep stuff. And then BuzzSumo, right? That's a big one. It helps you identify some trending topics and maybe some influencers in your niche. Um, and so they're just some quick tools that you can sort of go and take a look at and see which ones work for you, especially if you're thinking about being in the starting to use curated content.
Yeah. And then, of course, monetize it, right? So we already talked about it. Affiliate links. If you're recommending products and services, use those affiliate links for commissions. Again, make sure you are being very transparent and label that they are affiliate links and that you might make a commission that is not an extra charge to the customer. Sponsored content. We all love this one. When the brands pay you to make content for them, oh, that's when you know you made it. It's great. Uh, Email newsletters, right? If you're building your list, getting people on a newsletter is great because it might not be income now, but it gives you a greater possibility for income later, especially if it is niche specific. So maybe you do multiple niches, but you have different email lists for different parts, the different niches. So then whatever list they sign up to, yeah, it might be a pain handling 3, 4, 5 different lists, but then you know that you're sending the right links to the right demographic instead of putting everybody on a, all in one and having to guess. And your open rates are going to go ridiculously down if you do it all in one, because they're only going to open the ones that are relevant to them anyway. So you're just going to be shooting yourself in the foot if you do it that way.
Yeah, and with the news, and especially with the newsletters, that really helps you with your curated content because you can curate specifically, right? And like you say, so maybe you have 3 or 4 different newsletters, but it's much nicer if you've got them all segmented out and easy to do, right? So,
Right. And then exclusive memberships. And this is seen, YouTube has a membership option. I think Facebook rolled out a subscriber option. Instagram definitely has a subscriber option. Not Lemon.
OnlyFans? No.
Yes, if you want to go
Yes.
that route.
Well, you know what? OnlyFans has more than just, the sexy
The
time
spicy
pictures.
stuff. Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
then there's the was it Patreon?
Patreon. Yep. Discord, I think, has a paid.
Yeah, I think so. So there's
So
lots of
yeah.
different ways there that you can do that.
Yeah.
If you're creating curated content, especially again, taking top information and then putting it together as a fully complete thing. So pulling from lots of different areas and then putting it together as a single thing, offering your ideas, your thoughts. That is a great way to utilize it and make a little bit of extra cash, that people can't, they can't just grab it. Because I
Yeah.
mean, how many hours have we all spent searching YouTube or the web or wherever, or Facebook or Insta, all of these places, looking for very specific bits of information. So curated content is you taking all that research that you've done, picking out the best pieces and putting it together, and just making sure that and then noting who you're getting it from, especially when they're top people, because now their authority gives you authority, right? And you're
Mm-hmm.
not just like some dude that's giving some information. You are literally saying, these are what the top experts say. This is why I like what they had to say. This is how this helped me, all that kind of stuff. You put that together, boom. Now you have your own authority plus their authority,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's where it's cool. So I think that's it, and that's all for today. Hopefully, this has been kind of an eye opener for curated content. I know it was for me when I was taking that particular course that I was on, and spoke about curated content because I had never really thought about it that way. I mean, I really only thought about it people like how they were like clipping in somebody's opener into their video. I didn't really see the depth of it and how it could actually really become its own niche in a way. So I thought that I thought that was good. It's not just sharing somebody's stuff, but really building around it,
Mm-hmm.
and how it can build that trust and engagement and money, because we all like the money, right? So
Yes.
all right. So I think that's it. That's all.
Yep, just a quick reminder, guys. Facebook is deleting live videos off of profiles and pages and things like that. So if you want to catch up on the older episodes, now you gotta subscribe to the YouTube.
Yeah. Give us some damn love. We're here for you, giving it every week. So
Yes.
next week, we are going to talk about how to transition from a blogger to an affiliate marketer. Now,
Yep.
because a
This
lot
is
of people blog and they just try to make money off of the blogging, but there are definitely ways to make it, even bigger for you. So,
or even if you're not monetizing your blog at all at the moment, there's still, if you have a big following and you've been doing it for a long time, there's a lot of really good ways to go ahead and start monetizing that content and getting paid for your time.
So there you go.
If you found this helpful, please drop a comment, share, and hit that subscribe button. Your feedback is super helpful in growing this channel.
And of course, if you have any questions or if there's any specific thing that you would like us to talk about, drop that in the comments too. Happy Friday!
Happy Friday, everyone!